as soon as I would have glanced in the direction of that squalor, I would not have taken one more step in that play because it might jump on me. I don't know what you got creepy crawling around here. Welcome to La Vida Rosa. I'm your host, Pinky, and today we're going to be talking about Married at First Sight. Like, comment, and subscribe. But without further ado, let's get into this video. Okay, y'all, excuse the robe. This is before bed, and if I don't do this now, then it's not going to get done. And I really wanted to talk to y'all about last week's episode because I feel like what happened last episode really influenced what happened in this episode, and I have to talk about this whole Justin and Alexis thing. Plus, to me, one of the best episodes is the day after the honeymoon is over and they move in, because it really gets real. That's when everything really hits and gets real, and people have to deal. Okay, they don't have no other choice. You married now. I'm gonna go ahead and start with Ben and Morgan. So we know they're coming off of this whole debacle they had on their honeymoon. They did not start off on the best foot, right? So really it's an uphill battle from here because Morgan already does not really trust Ben. We're going to get more into it later, but you could just tell with her body language towards him that she's hesitant with him now. Whereas before, I do feel like she was, you know, more willing to be involved in things. Ben is not helping the situation for me because he's coming off as controlling. Like, I understand you want to be frugal. I'm a cheap person myself, okay? But I just feel like he's over the top with it. And I feel like the show does this. They don't cast people, like, for instance, with Mitch, he isn't just someone who likes to recycle. He's a over-the-top environmentalist. It's not even just about being passionate. It's almost about being OCD about things. And he gives controlling with this whole penny-pinching personality. Like, he wants her to do her laundry before 4 p.m. and also unplug everything before 4 p.m. Before 4 p.m., we unplugging everything. We unplugging lamps. She like to play video games, and when is she gonna play? She gotta play after work. So he's like, oh, okay, you can play then. He just wants to unplug everything. He doesn't want the lights on before 6. When she was about to go take a shower, he was turning all the lights off, and he wanted her to take a shower in the dark with an iPhone light. Oh no. Oh no. Something these people gonna have to realize is marriage is compromised as well. Like, just because this is the way you live, this is what you like to do, you are now married to someone else that has their own beliefs. And honestly, if you wanted someone that is like you in that manner, you should not have had someone else pick your wife, because you are exhausting. Was he trying to put the cat on a bathroom schedule? Like, I didn't understand that part. Y'all let me know that down below if y'all knew what he was talking about with that, because I don't know much about animals. So then Pastor Cal came over, and basically she told Pastor Cal about him running his mouth to Justin, and it was all a big misunderstanding. She also said that on the honeymoon, in the beginning, they promised they were not going to talk about family and finance during the honeymoon because they just wanted to enjoy it. And we saw on the honeymoon that he basically threw all of that back in her face. The lack of relationship with her father, you know, the fact that she still has one more class to take. He threw all that stuff in her face all at once, and she just felt completely betrayed. I will say, though, Ben was accountable for his actions, and he did apologize for being judgmental to her situation. But I do feel like a lot of what Ben does is try to, like, hurry up. Okay, well, let me hurry up and apologize. Instead of us talking about what you did and how it affected her, let's hurry up and try to brush past it. No, we're not brushing past it, because you need to understand what you did so you don't do it again. And we're not just going to brush past what you did. But she says she's finding it hard to trust him now because she would usually run in a situation like that. And it's because she has daddy issues. Her dad was not a solid person in her life, and he would constantly disappoint her, and she no longer has a relationship with her father because of it, and it also has caused her to build walls. Pastor Cal was basically like, you know, the man is apologizing, and, you know, that's already different than what your father did. And, you know, he's here and he's trying to make up for it. And I hear Pastor Cal, but it's like, how can she doesn't know him. So how can she properly accept this apology? Like, she can't. How is she supposed to move forward without seeing his changed behavior? It's just going to take time. Like, I understand you are married to him, and if you're going to stay married to him, then you are going to have to, you know, move forward at some point. But I just don't like how Pastor Cal was kind of like trying to brush over what had happened because he said, I'm sorry, when she don't know him like that. She doesn't know his behavior. We done seen people act a fool on this show. I don't blame her for still having them walls up, but constantly throwing it in his face, I will say, girl, you can hold back on that if you're going to stick around. She says she's willing to snuggle with him, but he's like, you know, patting her on the back like it's a basketball game or something. And Pastor Carol was like, you got to use a little bit more finesse with your wife. He was like, okay, I'm going to YouTube it. He's very juvenile. That's what I'm seeing from him. Everything is goofy. Everything is a joke. He's just, I don't know. It's like he's very juvenile when it comes to this relationship. And I don't know. I'm not seeing it for Ben. I wanted to like Ben, but I'm just not seeing it for him. Let's go ahead and talk about Lindsey and Miguel. So Lindsey gets triggered anytime Miguel brings up decision day, even though that is the point of this entire show, is to make it to decision day, but it triggers you. I do understand where she's coming from with it, because, you know, he basically was like, he gonna put it in his work for 8 weeks and basically that's it. But it's also unrealistic to not discuss it and be triggered by it as well. It just makes me feel like you got a lot of healing to do, miss. So we go to Miguel's place and we're looking at everything in his place, and everything is like so over the top, giggly. Oh, Miguel, he's just so amazing. Oh, you play with toys at your desk. Oh, it's like, Lindsey, calm down. Calm down. Like, I just want Lindsey to, Lindsey is very hot and cold. When she's liking Miguel, she is giddy over the moon. I feel like she be putting on a lot of it, but maybe it feels like it, maybe not, but it feels like she just be like, oh, Miguel, oh, like a very pick-me-ish type of attitude. And then when he do something to rub her the wrong way, it's like, snap, and this whole other personality, this whole other side of her comes out. And so we'll see more of that on the next episode. But I'm just like, girl, like, will the real Lindsey stand up? That's how I feel right now. They're looking through his apartment, and he reveals to her that he's into Dungeons and Dragons, and he's like really into it. He got all the books and everything, and he's into cosplay. And, you know, she's accepting of it. I think a lot more people are accepting of that now versus like back in the 80s when you watch Stranger Things, you know, nerds got made fun of for that. But these days, I feel like people are more accepting of quirks. And even with him showing up in that bear costume, she thought it was just, oh my goodness. Girl, she was getting on my nerves with that. So later on, they talk about their relationship, and he's telling her that, you know, he feels differently than he did on a honeymoon. He feels like she's won him over. And I'm like, are you saying this because y'all finally consummated your marriage? Are you saying this to appease her? Or are you saying this because she's on pick-me levels trying to please you? Which one is it? Because I can't pinpoint this man just yet. It's like he's trying to make her work for his affection or for his longevity in this relationship. Like, he was like, well, doesn't it say something that you won over a skeptic? Like, why does she have to win over? I don't know. I just didn't like the way he framed that. They went and talked to Pastor Cal, and she wants to see them in conflict. She wants to see how they're gonna, you know, battle it out. How they're gonna, you know, handle disagreements. And I'm just like, well, what was that in Mexico? Because that was I thought y'all were having disagreements there, but okay. Pastor Cal told her basically, don't welcome trouble, just, you know, basically make sure you have the tools to be able to handle conflict when it comes, but don't go looking for it. And he asked her, what do you need from him to give you confidence in the permanence of your marriage? And basically she said, if there is conflict and you're not feeling me in the moment, then just don't tell me. And he refuses because he's the type of person that will let his grievances build up, and he will just be on autopilot in the relationship, kind of like a people pleaser type of thing, until one day he just had enough and he checks out of the relationship. And Pastor Cal says you'll be turned off by her many times in a relationship, but you should re-examine your feelings before you express them to her. And basically he was just telling him that feelings are fleeting, but you can't run away because y'all had an argument. And I see exactly where Pastor Cal is coming from with that, because you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not gonna like your person all the time, but love is the thing that's gonna like keep you going and keep you wanting to work on your relationship regardless of your disagreements. And I feel like he's not as deep as he thinks he is. He feels very shallow, but then again, Lindy feels the same way. I feel like they're alike in that way, that they think they are much deeper than what they are, because their conversations be so shallow. So let's move on to Stasha and Nate. Apparently Stasha is a tyrant when it comes to cleanliness. Her place just does not look lived in whatsoever. It looks like a magazine. Like, it's a beautiful presentation, but it's just like a very sterile feeling. It just doesn't feel like, I don't feel comfortable like to sit down on your bed, because I just feel like I'm gonna leave a wrinkle and I'm gonna get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? And so as they're like looking at her place, which is beautiful, by the way, she has a beautiful place, they start arguing over an espresso machine. And he doesn't want to purchase one because he feels like it's too expensive and it's not worth it. But, and she's like basically arguing her case, and they're, you know, going back and forth over, you know, is she actually going to use it enough for it to be worth the money? And at the end of the day, Stasha is going to buy that espresso machine. Why? Because she makes double what he makes. Triple, quadruple. She makes way more than he does. So it's really not up to you. She got the money, she gonna buy it. It is what it is. And I'm sure there are not so practical things that you like to spend your money on as well, that you would like to splurge on. So he was trying to make it seem like she was such this big diva, but I know you are too. We just ain't got to it yet. So we get to his apartment. It's much nicer than what I thought it would be. It was decent. But the way she was going over his apartment, she might as well broke out the white glove and checking for dust. I ain't gonna lie, he did have empty containers and plastic in his cabinets. It was just giving bachelor pad, honestly. Like, that's how men live. It wasn't just extremely dirty. The only thing that was nasty to me was the fact that you just put 2 wine glasses up in the cabinets and you didn't wash the glasses. Like, why is like dried wine just in the bottom of those glasses? That means you didn't wash them at all. You didn't even rinse them. That was nasty. So then they met up with Pastor Cal. Pastor Cal asked her how does she feel about his salary, and she said it's workable. I mean, basically, she said he far exceeds the minimal salary she was willing to accept from a partner. But he said that he wants to make a certain amount before having a baby, which I think is responsible. And I think it's actually kind of cool that he wants to make a certain amount before having a baby. He already makes $150K, and his goal is to make $250K before a baby. She makes $415K. And so Pastor Cal says y'all have more than enough money, especially with what she makes. Y'all have more than enough. But I kind of understood where he was coming from. He wants to feel like he's pulling his own weight. I don't think that the way he feels about that should be overlooked simply because she makes more. He wants to contribute, and I can respect that if he's being real, if that's the real reason he doesn't want to have kids. And also, I just think it'll be too soon to have kids after a year. A year after y'all got married, y'all are still strangers. Like, y'all still getting to know each other. So then they talk about intimacy, and she says she's waiting to be in love before they go there, because she feels like in the past it's been transactional in her relationships. She also wants him to open up more and just bear it all. And I think maybe he just doesn't have the range, because being guarded is a defense mechanism that clearly he's had from his past, you know what I'm saying? And if he's never really explored something as deep as his mom not being in his life, he may need to do that with a counselor first. And, you know, we're going to discuss that more in the next episode. He just doesn't have the tools the way that she has. It's good to talk about your past and talk about, you know, the things that you have went through in your past, but it just feels like she's trying to trauma bond. And I do think a counselor should be present for like those deep conversations, especially if he's not used to having them. When she did bring up his mother, he was like, she's a stranger. It is what it is. And it just makes me feel like he may have mommy issues. I mean, of course he does. Has to, if his mom wasn't in his life, and for him to be that callous and cold about it, it just screams, I haven't dealt with it yet. You know what I'm saying? And I see how that would be a cause of concern for her. I just don't think she should be the one to try to facilitate that conversation. And then I just want to mention, like, Nate was shading Justin hard on After Party, and it makes me feel like something went down between them. I don't know if they didn't got into it during the season or after the season or what, but he was shading Justin hard, talking about he would never tell Justin his business because Justin is way too emotional. He's not somebody I would get advice from. I'm just like, where did this come from? But I'm very interested to see how they interact, you know, as we move on in the season. Let's move on to Kristin and Mitch. So we look at Mitch's place, and when I tell you his place was foul and filthy, disgusting, okay? That tub was nasty, that stove was disgusting, and that fridge was filthy, okay? I as soon as I would have glanced in the direction of that squalor, I would not have taken one more step in that place because it might jump on me. I don't know what you got creepy crawling around here. I don't know how she wasn't fully reacting and shaming him, because I would have actively been saying, how could you, first of all, how dare you bring me in here, but how do you live like this? And you've been putting your grubby hands on me too? Oh, no. I could not believe it. And the crazy part is, to me, Mitch knew that he was inviting his wife over. He knew this was going to be filmed for television, and he had no shame. He just, I just didn't get around to clean. Nothing like that. He just, oh yeah, it's dirty. He just didn't care. And he didn't have like any good excuse for your place to be that nasty. At least have somebody come in and clean up. I mean, he just didn't see nothing wrong with being grimy. And his place was worse than a junkyard to me. Sanford and Son was living better than Mitch. Forget whatever you talking about when it comes to you cleaning this water. I'm not drinking nothing that you are serving. Absolutely not. So then we get to her place, and she has a dog that has breathing issues. And, you know, she said the dog was stressed. And at first I laughed because I was like, how's the dog stressed? But then I thought about, well, he hasn't seen her in a few days, so maybe he was stressed from not seeing her. So Mitch is not clicking with the dog because the dog has heavy breathing issues. So later on they have a conversation about their relationship, and he claims to see a future with her, and I'm just not convinced. I'm not convinced with Mitch. I feel like he's playing a game right now. Like, I feel like he just wanna get some. I don't feel like he really cares about Kristin. I haven't seen any signs of that yet. He's not really affectionate to her. I haven't seen him compliment her. Like, when he does, it's very dry stuff like, oh, you're so strong and I love the way you handle that situation. Not, oh, you're so pretty, or like, and I'm not saying that he has to like compliment her physically all the time, but nothing about her personality. It's just, I'm just not getting that from him. And she's constantly doing it to him, like constantly complimenting him and telling her how much she is enjoying him. And I hate it because she's going above and beyond and he's not doing anything for her. So like she's doing the most for someone who is not even reciprocating. And it's like she's just desperate to make it work because she just wants to say she's married. And I hate that for her. So she gave him a card with some love coupons, and one of the coupons was for a bubble bath, and I'm just like, a bubble bath after you saw his tub and them dirty feet? Because you know he didn't take no shower. You know neither one of them took a shower before they got in that tub. I can only imagine the ring around that tub, okay? But obviously the tub was very romantic, because when Pastor Cal came, child, they let him know that they consummated the marriage, and I was just like, ugh. They said they're on a better track, but they haven't made plans beyond the 8 weeks, and they really haven't had any of the important convos you're supposed to have when you're married. Like, everything has been very shallow and surface level. I mean, I guess after him saying he wasn't attracted to her, like, you know, you kind of gotta, like, you can't just dive into the future after someone says something like that. She told Pastor Cal that one of her biggest fears is she's scared that he's just going to take off on the marriage. And he said that he's scared of losing himself in other people's expectations. Or is it that you just don't want to be held accountable? I don't know. So then they start talking about finances. She makes double what he does. No surprise there. She says she doesn't care because, you know, she just wanted someone who's passionate about their job. And plus, in the past, she was about to marry someone who was couch surfing. So clearly she don't mind taking care of a man. And he admits to being happy because it takes the pressure off of him. And I'm just like, anyway, they said they both want kids, and she said she would want kids ideally within the next year or two. And Pastor Cal, you know, he was having some hesitation about it, and Pastor Cal was like, you're 41, do you have any other prospects? I was just like, dang. But I just don't think that the experts should be pressing them to have kids. I feel like they should be encouraging them to wait. Even though he's 41, I think they should be encouraging them to wait, because they are strangers. They should take time to get to know each other first, because once you have kids, y'all gonna be connected for the rest of your life. And can you imagine Mitch as a baby daddy? The worst. So next, let's talk about Justin and Alexis. And y'all, this is a far cry from the honeymoon for them. They really were trying to act like they were marriage experts on the honeymoon for them to come back and them have the most problems out of everybody. I mean, and even Alexis in the beginning of this episode was bragging about how easy their marriage was. So we meet Newton, her dog, which she considers her baby. She's very close with her dog. They move into the apartment. Justin brings in his dog. And, you know, really, because I've watched this a few times, because I watched it over with my grandmother. And you know, we should have known something was up when he was constantly bringing up how the dogs might not get along and how they're two alphas and how they might not mesh. Why are you constantly worried about whether the dogs are going to get along? And even when the dogs did get around each other, he constantly was holding the dog on a leash, whereas Alexis was just letting her dog freely roam. And to me, that said a lot. But look, this is one thing I need to be upfront about before I get into this dog discussion. I've never had a dog. I'm not an animal person. I don't really like dogs. So I don't really have much knowledge on dogs and how you're supposed to deal with dogs. But I do have a heart. And this situation did touch me in a way that I did not see coming. So first things first, apparently from what I've seen in the comments, you're supposed to introduce dogs in an open, neutral setting first before you just bring them into the home and just throw them in there. I thought that was normal because that's what people usually do. That's what they did in the past on this show. They always just brought their dogs in and just let them, you know, meet each other and sniff each other, and that's that. But apparently that's not the way that you do it. So when they did put the dogs next to each other, his dog growled at her dog a couple of times. Like, he clearly was not having it with Newton. After the dog growled a couple of times, it completely attacked her dog. Like, oh my goodness, that was like a ferocious attack. And like, my heart broke for that dog, because I could tell that wasn't just like a playful thing. That was like type of. And oh my goodness, when I heard the dog crying and whimpering, it broke my heart, y'all. I told y'all I have a heart. Like, I don't never want to see no animal hurt now. And so what was crazy to me is the dog attacked Newton, and then he turned, like, she was like, oh my goodness, what happened? And he turned around and lied, like, oh, nothing happened. What? then why are you holding your dog back, and why is her dog crying? If that wasn't bad enough, we turn around and see that her dog's eye is bleeding. And I immediately, I don't know what I would have done, y'all. I don't know if I would have passed out. I don't know if I would have started crying myself. But she kept herself together, because, you know, she could have even went off, because I would have been furious as well. Justin honestly wasn't serious enough for me. He did take the dog in the, you know, closet and shut the door. It was like bad dog, but I just feel like he didn't do enough. And so she, you know, immediately called the vet and was trying to get the dog in to see somebody. He was like, with the wobbly voice again, oh, I don't know, what can I do? And that's getting old. I'm gonna need for you to let that wobbly voice go when anytime something go wrong. Grow up, okay? So when it's all said and done, he agreed to take his dog and put her in some sort of training camp for 2 weeks, because honestly, your dog needs to be in a training camp, because if your dog will attack my dog, that dog might attack me, or someone else that comes over here might get hurt. Like, your dog does need training, period. And there's no way I would have moved forward with that dog in that house without something happening. And he said it was just hard for him because he's had her since birth. And I understand that, but your dog is dangerous and your dog needs some help. So then we get to Pastor Cal. And she tells Pastor Cal that she feels he wasn't being honest about his dog, and basically lying by omission, because Justin didn't tell her that his dog has been in several fights with other dogs. And he claims that it's irrelevant because usually the other dogs were like picking at his dog, or they were in the wrong. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Your dog has been in several fights, and the common denominator at the end of the day is your dog, if your dog has been in several fights, period. Especially if your dog is that ferocious the way he attacked her dog. Once he's being held accountable for basically lying by omission, he begins to whimper once again. He was whimpering more than Newton was when he got attacked. And he was, you know, yeah, he's taking responsibility. Yeah, I feel bad as an owner. I feel bad and da-da-da-da. But these tears feel manipulative to get her off of him and to get the pressure off of him, instead of just eating that, because you were wrong. You were wrong. And so she was over it. And, you know, now all of a sudden here come Pastor Cal. Well, don't beat yourself up. And it's like those tears do feel manipulative, because now you're requiring pity, whereas you really should be getting fussed at right now. And look, let me also say this. I'm not completely blaming Justin. I'm not just saying it's his fault, but I do think he holds responsibility for not telling her that his dog is violent. And, you know, she bears some responsibility too, because as a dog owner, y'all should know how to introduce dogs. So I do feel like it's on both of them, but it's mostly on Justin to me. So she told Pastor Cal that she feels like he's being too vague, and he, you know, feels like he's holding back things, and it's a little bit deceptive. And so Pastor Cal tells him, you have to be beyond honest now. You have to kind of overcompensate and basically overly give out details now, because now she has this distrust for you in this area. And she told him that if Maya doesn't get right, then he's gonna have to go, or she's leaving. And it's not easy, but I'm sorry, your dog is dangerous. How do I know your dog's not gonna jump on me and bite me? Period. That's how I feel. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that down below. All the dog lovers, y'all let me know how this dog situation goes. Am I being too harsh? I don't know. I just feel like if your dog is dangerous like that, he don't need to be in the house. Let me know how y'all feel down below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Peace.